Yo, what's good guys? Inswain with Inswain Audio. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and join the family. Welcome, we missed you. Anyways, today I'm going to be walking you through step by step how to mix a trap beat. I'm going to mix this beat that I just produced. I just finished making it. Now I got to mix it. I figured I might as well make a tutorial. So I'm going to walk you through step by step my process of how to mix a trap beat. Just keep in mind, every beat is different. They have different arrangements, layers, etc., different feels, genres. So this isn't going to work all the time, but I think getting a look into my process of mixing an instrumental might help. So let's jump into it. All right, so first I'll play you a little section of the beat. I put all the faders back to 0. The only processing I have is on the track for my tag. That's just the preset. It's nasty. Ignore that. It's old. It's just the effects to get my tag. So it's basically nothing because the tag is raw. So that doesn't count. And then the arpeggios, I put a tremolator on them just to give them bounce. It's more of a production thing. And these buses are not used. So just this little production thing. No mixing. Faders are at 0. No panning. So it's going to sound off, but we'll walk through it. So here is the instrumental, what it sounds like. Yes, you get the idea. So I'll walk you through step by step how I would mix this and tell you my thoughts along the way. Keep in mind that this is going to be an instrumental I'm releasing for sale. So if you are interested, you can check out that Inswain Beats. I got a YouTube channel and a BeatStars, but that's not why I'm doing this. The reason that I say that is because if this was an actual song, like with vocals, I would be mixing it differently, right? I would have vocals in mind. But this is going to be a standalone beat, so I need to, leave some room for the vocals for the artist when they purchase it, but I'm kind of taking a different approach, right? Whereas if I had the vocals in there, I might mix it differently, but we don't have that. So yeah, enough rambling. Let's get into it. So first, what I like to do is get what's called like a static mix. It's basically just levels and panning, get like a rough idea of what I'm doing here, and then I'll start going through and really, hammering away. So let's listen to just the instruments. Oh, let me break down what we got. We got a synth, this ARP. ARP 2 is the same thing, just with a different processing of the tremolator. These bells. And then for percussion, we got the hi-hat, this open hat, this open hat. We got this clap, a snare, this perk, and the 808. Play you just the percussion, and I'll play you just the instruments or music. Just so you know. Okay, so first let's get a static mix. So let's get the instruments kind of roughly where I want them. Okay, and we'll start adding things in. Alright, that's pretty good. Oh, wait, I forgot about the 808. Duh. Alright, that's pretty good for balance for now. Notice we got some numbers going in the red. I'm not worried about it. I'll just turn everything down uniformly. Is that the word? Together equally, so the balance stays the same between them, but we won't be clipping. Not that it matters, but that's another story. All right, volume wise pretty good. Now let's do some panning. Oops. Alright, so I just panned the hi-hat to the left a little bit and one of the open hats to the right, just so that it's not all straight up the middle, just to give it a little excitement and rhythm and bounce. It's not anything too necessary, but just to give it a little bit of life. I might do a little spread to this part here, this, to like chant. Try some sample delay. Just delay one of the channels a little bit. Okay, that's super wide. That worked way, like, too well. That's cool. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent on it. It's not worse, but I don't know if it's better. But it's kind of unique. I like it. There's too many things up the middle, so I'll keep it. Alright, so there's my static mix. I'm liking the levels in the panning. It's subject to change if I need to. It's not permanent, but I like to at least get a rough idea so that when I start doing the next things I'm about to do, at least I'm hearing things roughly where they're going to be. Now, my biggest concern is these different loops here, the EQ, to get them to work together. They all kind of reside in roughly the same place, so we got to make them work. So I think like this synth is a little bit darker than this. So I'm gonna give this the lower mids, this the upper mids, and then this. I'll give this upper mids. Did not mean to do that. Okay, now they're working together a little better. Might need to adjust the balancing again a little bit. Let's see. That's pretty good. I might put an effect on this bells. For like the upper frequencies, a little width on them. So maybe I'll just boost the sides. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's cutting through perfectly. I could also put like a delay, a ping pong delay for the upper frequencies, but I don't want to get too busy. Don't need to get too crazy. Alright, cool. Now let's process the drums. We need some drum compression because I love it. How's that for an answer? I like the Waves SSL comp as a start. It's always my first go-to for trap drums most of the time. I'm going to put my mix in mono for a second and listen to that perk chant thing that I made wider and just check my mono compatibility. Sounds really weird, but we're not too worried about that. I'm just worried about the level. Into stereo we go. That's a good little trick. I don't know if I made that in a video or not, but I did. Check your mix in mono. It can give you some new information. I'm not going to make adjustments necessarily because of it, but it gives me that perspective for a moment, and I can hear the balance of things again. So watch. I notice my hi-hat's really loud. It kind of always happens when you put it in mono. So I can now re-listen to it back again in stereo and be like, is it too loud? It needs a little bit of some harshness removed from it, maybe some resonances, and I think that'll fix it. You can see it, but we're not mixing with our eyes, but you can see it. Softens the hi-hat, puts it in the background, which is what I want in this case. So I like that. There's a little bit more. You can do some parallel compression on your drums. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I might go back and add some, but I'm going to I'll put on a little room reverb just to glue it together. I like to use the Space Designer from Logic. And rooms, there's like a drum room or something. Big drums. We want big drums, right? Why not? We'll start with that. It's gonna be crazy at first. We gotta dial it back. So I turn it way down, super subtle. It just kind of glues them together and gives them a more real feel. Makes them kind of feel three-dimensional, as opposed to like flat and 2D. I don't really need to do too much more. Do some master bus processing. On my beats, I like to do a little bit of over baking on my master bus to get it really cranking because I'm trying to sell them to artists. But then when they, buy the stems, this won't be printed on the mix, right? So then the engineer can rebuild it up with the vocals fitting. So it's kind of a little unique case here, but just keep that in mind. Am I gonna put another Waves SSL comp? Let's use I forgot who it's from. Plugin Alliance. Where is that boy? The BX Townhouse bus compressor. It's basically the same compressor, but a different character. I like them both. I think this one is gonna really help with the low end here. A little too much. We'll dial back on the mix knob. I said that like I didn't know what I was gonna do. I almost always do that, but I'm like walking through this with you guys. It's so subtle, but notice how when it's off, right here, off, on, when it's off, sounds fine, but then when I turn it on, it feels like all the individual instruments come together as one mix, which is kind of what you want from a bus compressor. But it's weird, like you don't realize it's an issue, but then you turn the compressor on, and it's like, oh, now everything's working together. It sounds like a song as opposed to a hi-hat and a snare and a clap and a bass, right? So listen to this. Crazy. Bus compression, a little slight bus compression can take you far. I like to do saturation on my master bus. When it's a beat like this, like a little with an aggressive 808, sometimes I like to do a lot of saturation. If you have the FabFilter Saturn 2, I think it's somewhere. I think there's a preset somewhere. I don't know. But I copied it into my own preset. It's called Master. I named this. You can copy this if you want, if it's not a preset. It's on gentle saturation with a 0% drive, and that's it. And you can dial the mix knob back, so you can be super subtle. Even with the drive on 0, it still saturates, and it makes the 808s huge. So watch this. This is on 100, but watch the before and the after. Ready? Huge. I kind of like it. Let's see. Now we're going to mess with the mix knob to find the sweet spot. I'm not afraid of some saturation. The beats bang, right? The beats gotta bang. Now what I'll do is I'll clip it and then limit it. And then it should be done, but we'll listen through to make sure. I'm drawing a blank, guys. What clipper? Sir Audio Tool standard clip. Crazy one. Let's try to get crazy. Yeah, I like that. Push it, crank it, why not? I'll just limit it just so that it's commercially loud. And I just kind of realized I should have said this at the beginning. If you notice that I'm not adjusting a lot of the parameters on my plugins, that's because I save defaults to the settings that I use a lot so that I only have to adjust a few things. Now, of course, I can and do adjust everything, but a lot of times I like some of my settings the same. So I'll simplify it, and whatever one I use a lot, I'll save. Like, for example, on the... Where is it? on the SSL comp, I saved, you notice I was really only messing with the threshold and the makeup because my attack release ratio, I like to use that a lot. So I set that as my default. Same with the analog button on. I set that as my default so that I don't have to adjust it every time. Now, sometimes, yeah, I want to use a 30 millisecond attack instead of a 10 or whatever, but that's what I like most of the time for what I use this compressor for. So I save it as my default. That's a good little tip there for you guys. Transparent, punchy, and modern are my favorite. I don't know. It's always so hard to choose. Punchy might take the win here. It usually doesn't, but that way, what it's doing to the 808 is pretty crazy. But the modern, I think it's making it sound louder overall. Go with punchy because of what it does to the 808. Crazy. Might have too many sub frequencies to make sure that my ears aren't playing a trick on me. I have a trick for that. Let's take a look at it. See, I knew I wasn't crazy. A little bit heavy on the subs compared to, you know, commercially mastered songs. So we can fix that. And if you notice the little dip, especially in the upper mids, that's good because that's where the vocal's going to go. And we don't have a vocal, so it makes sense that there's a dip there. It's a good sign that our mix is balanced and that our production and, you know, composition and layering is on point because now there's room for a vocal. That's a gem right there for you producers. But yeah, we can handle the subs a little bit. I'll put a little low shelf. So I like how my clipping sounds. I'll do it after my clipper, before my limiter. No, I'll do it before the clipper. Don't need to cut out all of them necessarily. Let's try just a little shelf down here. Just a little shelfy shelf. 808's actually sounding clearer and louder now, even though we removed frequencies. Crazy how that works, right? Everything's a relationship. Now I'll check it again. We're probably still a little heavy in the subs, but honestly, most songs I've noticed are actually heavier in the bass than what this shows, so I'm not too worried about it. You don't need to be exactly in this. It's just a ballpark. We were close enough to begin with, but I kind of knew we had too many subs, and I just wanted to make sure, but we should be good now. Let's just check. Got to build up at 40. I don't really hear anything, though. I'm not too worried about it. That's cool. Now I'm just going to listen, see what sticks out to me. And of course, I'll go through and play it and adjust section by section. You can do automation and everything. But just for the sake of this video, so that it's not too long, I just, mixing this one section. Everything should be good, but of course, always check. Add your automation and stuff. But like I said, this is just an instrumental, so it's a different case here. It's not like a song, so to speak. But yeah, let's just sit back and listen. Hi-hat's gotta come down. Maybe even the opens, but definitely this. And right there, I got that feeling. That's when you know you're done or you're about done, when you're like, yeah, there it is. Like, ready? Let's listen to this. Yup, that's how I know I'm done, because I want to start rapping. I got flows coming to me. Different mindset switch. But, yeah, there you have it, guys. There is how you mix a trap beat, this trap beat. Once again, it's always going to be different. I can't give you the exact answers to do every time. You have to go out on your own and do that. A lot of, instructors don't want you to know that, but that's just the truth. But hopefully from watching this, you learned something, got some insight, got some ideas, inspiration, seeing how it's really nothing crazy. Even though I overcooked the master bus on purpose, other than that, I didn't really do too much. Once I got the static mix, it was almost there. We really could have kind of just left it as that. I just added some bells and whistles to make things a little bit punchier, clearer, right, living on their own. But it was nothing too crazy. That's probably going to be the biggest takeaway for a lot of people, is you don't need a million plugins. You don't need to overbake everything. Like, it's really just use your ears. Like, it's so cliche and useless, but it's the truth, guys. I mean that. Anyways, Inswain with Inswain Audio. Peace.